The new iPhone heaven is out, and God may be trying to send you a friend request. So, we're talking signs and wonders, divine timing, and does tragedy bring you closer or pull you away from God? Stay tuned. We're talking God friended me.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Yes, Kasha.
I had no idea she even sang this song.
She had a coming to God moment, so it's appropriate.
Love it.
You find your peace. I love it. Such a good. So this was such a good, feel-good show. I'm so excited to talk about God Friended Me. We're here today. I am Jamie Alexander, and to my left.
Hey everyone, I am Mina Wahab.
So thank you guys for tuning in, and we want you guys to stick around to the very end. We have a special segment where we talk about how God speaks to us in different ways, and I know you have a really great quote to share, and we have some little anecdotes, but God Friended Me. This was such a great, emotional, touching show. We really enjoyed it, and what did you think of the show overall?
I'm obsessed with it. Honestly, there's something about this show that made me feel so emotional, even though I did feel like a lot of it was predictable, but I don't think that things being predictable make for a bad show or a good show. I think sometimes you can know what's going to happen and still enjoy every second of it, and that's how I felt. Like, I kind of, predicted the fact that, the girl was gonna, what's her name? Cara Bloom was gonna walk into the street and get hit by a car. I was like, that's kind of predictable. I knew her mom would visit her in the hospital, but I don't think that takes away from the story arc or, the emotional intensity of those moments. I thought that the protagonist, played by Brandon Michael Hall, I love him. I think he's phenomenal. I love him in this role. I just think the message of this show is so beautiful, and how they're creating a show where God speaks to you through social media in a way where the message is to help a person in need and to have that come back full circle in a way that's so beautiful. I just think it's really indicative of life. So this is kind of like art imitating life, and it's such a touching story. I'm so excited for episode 2.
Yeah, no, I would have to agree. You really hit it on the head, and I love that feedback. It's perfect. And I love this show because it's real. And right now, being at 2018, it's time for us to really fully embrace the new culture with social media and everything. Because, just 10 years ago, I kind of feel like we were still on MySpace. So just to think how far we've evolved in 10 years, it's really a part of a conversation where I like the fact that they're mixing spirituality and social. And I think she said spirituality and something through the prism of social media, and science through the prism of social media.
Yeah.
I love that because it's so accurate. And, Brandon Michael Hall, he is the perfect person for this. I loved him in The Mayor, and we were talking about him. He's so charismatic, he's bright, and he has this essence that makes perfect for kind of this faith-based type of show. And I'm just excited to have something mainstream that involves the Lord. I love Jesus. I love God, and it's less about the faith, but more about being open to the signs and the wonders. So let's kind of talk a little bit about that. What were some of the signs that came up first for him?
The burning bush.
Oh,
that was
hilarious.
It was great comedic timing,
Yeah.
Great divine intervention timing, great everything timing. I loved it.
And it's so funny because I grew up Christian, that, my family, and that's hilarious. It's really the burning bush. We're going to be doing this right now. I thought that was really funny.
And I love how they add those comedic elements because in a way, you have all of these signs of God existing, right, in this world. And then someone who's an atheist who's God doesn't exist. And then all these crazy coincidences, if you will. Right. Call them coincidences, call them divine intervention, call them whatever you will. But it's just funny to see someone who is so, adamant that God does not exist, that a higher power does not exist, seeing all these signs kind of messing with him, where he's I need to make sense of this because there has to be a logical explanation as to why it's happening. And I kind of relate to him in a sense because I am a spiritual person. I do believe in a higher power, but sometimes when I see certain things happening, I'm what is the logic behind this? There has to be a logical explanation, and sometimes there just is no logical explanation. It's chance, it's coincidence, it's, I don't know, divine intervention. I don't know what it is.
Yes, and I would have to agree. It's so funny just because you know, I did grow up Christian and I do call myself spiritual. And it was funny because he was like, that's a cop out. You can't be one foot in, one foot out. But it's so funny because he's like, there's no God and that's okay. But if I think of it in like the biblical sense or more of a religious sense, like, you know how they say God always he calls you back. Because he's not that far removed from being spiritual with his father being a priest. So it's like he grew up, I'm assuming he grew up in the church. I think they kind of alluded to that with his father being a pastor. But it's just like, how do you go from being immersed in the religion to absolutely not thinking that there's a God at all? Like that's
traumatic incidents.
Exactly.
That happens all the time.
Right.
Like when you're faced with adversity, you either cling more to religion or you say there's no way God can exist. Because I think oftentimes the major religions, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, they all preach that the God that exists is one who is A, all-knowing, 2, omnipotent, so all-powerful, and 3, merciful. So if you include that key third word, merciful, in the mix, if God is truly merciful and like a kind and just God, why do horrible things happen to us every day? I think it's so hard to wrap your head around the fact that tragedy can occur, that there is senseless violence in the world when someone who is supposed to be a kind, benevolent God exists, right? So either God is not kind or there is no God. You know what I mean? I think that's the conclusion a lot of atheists come to, and there's no proof for it. So, you know, it's kind of like, it's kind of like saying, like, you can't see electricity, but you know it exists because of a fan turning on, because you see something at work, at play. So you attribute it to electricity, but just because you don't see or feel something, sometimes you can experience something that logic cannot explain. And even some of the greatest minds, like Einstein, believed in God. So
yeah, I loved it. So what you were saying about grand design, I like that because I think we're all on a spiritual journey. Even as an atheist, I still think there's still spirituality in there because we're flesh and soul. Like, we just are. I think that's scientific. I think that could be scientific at this point with quantum physics and things like that. But what I believe is, you know, how if everything happens for a reason, we as humans can sometimes get in the way. Like, for example, the tragedy with the mother, how her mom left. Her mom was feeling like she left because she didn't want to further destroy the lives of her daughter and her husband. And when she went and found her mom and saw her, she didn't want to go confront her out of the fear. So what I'm seeing and sensing here is like, there's a lot of things we go through in our daily life, and because of the way we look at it and the things that we fear, we kind of step in. Sometimes we need a divine being or to kind of guide us into where we need to be going. Like, if you can just open your mind a little bit, you know, the God entity can do the rest. Because even though it was really sad that her mom left, let's think of all the possibilities that could happen in the middle. First, she gained a sister. They didn't get to grow up with each other, but they're learning each other now, and that's really beautiful. The mom seems to be recovered. You know, they came back together, and not only that, well, I don't want to get too far into predictions now, but I'm like, I want to see where that goes with like the mom, and then the fact that the mom also helped with Miles' mother and her cancer time, you know, and all these things. So knowing that there's a grand design that's possible and that there are things that we don't know, and just the way we function as humans and fears and how those things can get in the way. For me, it kind of feels like if I was in the show and I'm letting this God thing lead me, that's a little bit comforting because we don't know. And we do a lot of things out of fear, but there's so many good things that can come from it that we don't see at the time until we're looking at them in retrospect.
Yeah, hindsight's always 20/20.
Right.
And I think it's kind of like, you know, when you're a kid even, you see things happen and you can't fully understand it until you're old enough to understand what you didn't know then because of your limited knowledge. And I think as humans, we can never know everything. You know, obviously we only know like a portion of the knowledge that exists in the world, and we don't know what we don't know. Like there's a whole bunch of knowledge that we don't even know about that we can't wrap our heads around. So I feel like, I don't know. There's no, in a way, like you can argue there's no evidence that God exists, but there's also no evidence that God doesn't exist.
Right.
So it's really like either way. I mean, as long as you're a good person, I don't think religion or spirituality really matters. And I think a lot of times people equate faith to being a good person, but a lot of times you see people do horrible things in the name of either God, Allah, like they're all the same person, they're all the same entity, but you see like the Westboro Baptist Church doing horrible things and they claim to be Christian. So a lot of people do horrible things in the name of religion, but I think believing in a greater power is different than, you know, ascribing to just like one certain religion. Not that I have anything against religion, I'm just saying it's caused a lot of division, and right now our world needs unity more than anything else. While still having diverse opinions, I believe like it's beautiful to have different points of views and different perspectives, but I just don't like the divides that religion creates specifically. And I like how in this show, it's not about one religion only. Like in the very beginning, he brings in a rabbi to his podcast, and then you can tell that he's Christian because his dad is a reverend. So Christian, I guess, by birth, but, you know, not a self-proclaimed Christian. So I don't know, I really like where the show is going.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job. You know, if we look at the signs and wonders with the show, they did a really good job of, because even what you say with the church and, you know, people doing things in the name of God, what we can still understand is they're still people. It's so what I love about this show is it gives us a really fun and down-to-earth way to let's think of God as the entity he is. We can't see him, we can't touch him. So if he friend requests you, they went to the house, there was nobody there, they can't find them. You know, it's not like you got a direct communication. He popped up when it was time, which is how it kind of goes in real life. And it's nothing that had human interference. It only made the next thing happen once the people involved were willing to show up. And so I think it's very much about what signs and wonders do we get on the daily? What little things happen that we're maybe ignoring or not seeing or not catching those leadings? Because yes, the show is a little bit dramatic, but what if you really could save a life? What if you really do turn somebody's fears into something else and they do reunite with a parent? Or I like the way that this show shows us that we do have a little bit more power than we think, but if we take the leadings from the divine and they just took one step at a time. So the show started with, I don't believe in God and I need, you know, to get the serious podcast and I need to do this and I'm gonna help change lives. And by the end, people are in tears, somebody was reunited, you know, so there's all these things that happen when we just show up and be open to divine leading. Because you're right, like when it comes to people, and I think that's what, not to get too deep into why religion, this and that, but when we rely on people, we're flawed. You know, everyone is flawed. We are humans. So if we can look at God in a way and make it fun, kind of like this show, as if it was just a message coming in on our phone. I mean, it kind of just makes sense to me because it feels like real life.
And I love just like this concept of a lot of times we feel burdened by, oh, one person can't change the world. But it's not about changing the entire world. It's about being a good person. And if you even impact just one person's life, like I'm not talking about doing things on a mass scale. I'm saying like in an interpersonal context, if you can just help one person, maybe someone who's suicidal, maybe someone who needs a friend, someone who's going through hardship, if you help that one person in whatever way possible, that creates a beautiful ripple effect where that person can save someone else and the other person, just like spreading positive energy around. And energy is truly infectious. Like when you feel like I feel like you're this way too. I'm very intuitive where I can feel if someone's in a bad mood, if they're like, you know, something's going on internally where I'm like, oh wow, like I sense a little bit of darkness, a little bit of depression, like what's going on? And I think people don't necessarily realize the impact of kindness and how it's not just our words that have a huge impact, it's how we treat others. And I think there are a lot of people who just want to be seen and understood, like not just like, oh, I see this person, but I really see you. I really understand you. And it's that like not feeling understood, not feeling like someone cares about you that I feel like causes a lot of problems, a lot of pain, a lot of hurt. Like even when we look at Cara Bloom's character, like that feeling of abandonment and how she went to New York because she just really wanted to find her mom. Like that's so much pain there. And we have all these things that happen to us in our childhood. Like maybe we've repressed it, maybe we're not aware of what happens, but if you can just have like that one person or be that one person to be positive, to shine a light on someone else, I just think that's the most beautiful thing you can do in this world.
Yeah, I would have to agree. And, you know, again, this show was so symbolic of that. Like, look at John Dove. Just because Miles was open to like, what? Okay, is that him? He was open. It's almost like what you're saying, seeing the pain in someone and the ripple effect. He was able to save Kara when she got hit by a car simply because he was alive. And who knows how many other people he'll save from there just because somebody said yes, somebody was kind, somebody, shed that light that you're talking about.
But you know what one really kind thing you guys can do is, well, I'll let you know, because here at AfterBuzz, our network produces after shows for nearly all your favorite TV shows, not just God Friended Me. We literally have everything you can possibly imagine, from dramas, reality TV, sci-fi, and more. There's no other network that works harder to serve television fans. But we need your help, guys. Like, be our Brandon Michael Hall in this situation. We're asking that you please subscribe to one or more of our YouTube channels. By subscribing to our channel, YouTube will suggest content that's tailor-made for you, and you'll help AfterBuzz continue to grow. And if you guys are worried about those annoying notifications, don't be, because they're totally optional. So hit that subscribe button right now for this channel. Do it right now, you guys. And check out our other AfterBuzz YouTube channels as well. Let us know you did so in the comments section below so we can shout you out on air next week and you can become like YouTube famous. Hopefully, no guarantees, but we'll try. For now, thank you so much for being the best fans ever and for helping us here at AfterBuzz be the ESPN of TV talk.
Whoop, whoop, go AfterBuzz. Thank you so much. So let's talk about divine timing, because divine timing is something that shows up in our lives all the time. But again, it's something that you got to be aware of. And so I think in this show, what are some of the things that you saw that you felt like were just absolute divine timing?
I mean, just the fact that he would get a message on his phone and it would continue to say, like, God is friending you, God is friending you. And then the person that pops up and seeing that person in person, like, there's no way, like, obviously I get why he would think it's a prank because how bizarre is that? But sometimes we see these signs and we just ignore them. And God keeps sending us signs and signs. And we're like, oh, like, sometimes if we're not in the right headspace and we don't want to see it, we just won't see it. It can be right in front of us. It's kind of like, you know, when you're like missing something, you're like, where did I put my cell phone? Where is it? I know I have my cell phone somewhere. And it's like literally right in your hand. And you're like, I can't find it. I'm never going to find my cell phone. And it's like, hello, it's literally right here in my hand. It's kind of like that. It's like someone can wave something, and if you don't want to see it, you just don't see it. And it's up to you to be present, to be mindful, to work on being the best you possible so that you don't ignore signs like that. Like, there have been so many times in my life where I'm kind of like, what are the chances that I run into the person that I've really been wanting to meet and I didn't think it was possible, and I was just watching their show yesterday, or I was just doing X, Y, and Z, and then that person led me to this, and then I would see them again 2 hours later at a different location. Like, what are the chances? So sometimes I'm like, there's no way this is pure coincidence. This is like the universe working in some crazy divine way, and I've never been the person to be like, oh, like, the universe is working in my favor, but I've seen so many times, like, time and time again, this is just such a creepy coincidence that my mind can't wrap my head around the fact that something that specific could happen when there are 7 billion people in the world. How would you run into that one person that you needed to talk to? Like, how is that even possible?
I mean, you have to ask yourself that. And that's what I think the beauty of divine timing and divine intervention is we get these seeds all along the way. Just like when you were saying, you know, how is it that I was just thinking I wanted to meet this person and I saw him? It is about being mindful. The moment you got that thought, that meant something. It was something that I feel was deposited in your spirit. So that's one seed. And then the next one was like, oh, and I just saw him on the show. That's great. Oh, you know what? I'm going to take a run today. I need fresh air. Oh, boo, there's the person. Like,
it's
there's
like
these...
God waving a flag in your face, like, come on, Mina, go up to them. Go talk to them.
Yeah, like I set this up for you.
Want? It's like, sometimes I feel like the sign is there. God gives you a little nudge. Either you go with the nudge or you resist, and then you don't get what it is that you really want because you don't allow yourself to have it. Because so many times we think that we are not deserving of the thing it is we so desperately want because we don't think we're good enough. We have imposter syndrome. We think like, hey, this isn't meant for me. And we self-sabotage a lot, especially as women. I feel like women do that a lot. And I think it's important to realize like you are worthy of whatever it is you were trying to get. As long as you work hard, you have good intentions while you do it. Don't ever feel like you're not good enough for that thing, because I truly believe in the law of attraction. Whatever intention you set, like if you really believe that you can do it, you will achieve it. You have to like write it down, put it on your board, like make a vision board, and I guarantee you it will happen. And I am the biggest skeptic in the world. Like I'm super analytical. I question everything. But at the same time, I also believe in the power of magic and coincidence and fate. Even though I do think we have free will, I still believe in like the concept of this was truly meant to be, because it happened so perfectly that I myself could not have constructed a more beautiful way of this happening. So I think it's important to be open. I'm not saying believe in God or believe in the universe, but be a good person and believe in possibility. Like just believe in the possibility that something could exist. Not saying that it does, that it could.
Yeah. And you know what, that's what I love about this show too, because I think sometimes because we've become a sensitive society, like there's a lot of stuff we can and can't say, we're offending people, everything has just become really tender and sensitive. And I like that this show was bold and used God. Nature didn't friend me, the universe didn't friend me, it was just very like God friended me. And it's something, whether you believe it or not, we all know who God is. Whether you have a personal relationship with him or an idea because of something you heard. I just really like, you know, how they put that out there, and just, I hope it does make people think. I hope it makes people think, because I even think the timing of this show is part of divine timing. How ratchet has Facebook gotten? Like, let's be real. Facebook is kind of like, whoa.
I also love that Miles had nothing in common with God except for just nature. Like, is that meaningful? Is this some sort of foreshadowing? Like, how do they have nothing in common?
But isn't that amazing? Because when we think of nature and we think of God, and, you know, if you believe that God created everything, look how effortless nature functions. And we see the effortlessness of nature unfold throughout the whole episode. And it's still happening in these little seeds and seasons and moments. Because if you remember, like how you said, we were talking about intention, have good intentions.
Right.
Regardless of how Miles thought he was going to do it, his intention was to change the world. So I feel like God was like, oh, you want to change the world? I'm going to give you something that is really world changing, not just you and your little podcast, but I'm going to orchestrate.
Yeah.
We're going to pull all of this together, and that's going to make for so much more of a poignant testimony to really change a life. Because even when his dad, he was like, whose life have you changed? And I think it's okay to ask that. Like, we get very generic, like everyone, you know, everyone's going to think I'm stupid. Okay, well, who's everyone? Can you name them? We have this idea in our head. And so this is really such an opportunity to separate, God, am I tripping? Like, am I just being afraid? Or is it me doing this, that, or the other? But I like the nature, how they threw that in there, because nature is effortless. You will never have to tell a flower to grow. It's going to grow its own time. And the petals are, you know, it's going to do its thing. And so
the bee will pollinate it. Like, everything will fall into place. It's a whole circle of life. And,
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed that. And I hope,
so
with the Facebook.
Like, to your point, like, sometimes we have this idea, like, we want X, Y, and Z, and this is the only path there is to get it. And then, like, the universe shows us this isn't the only path. Like, you can do it in this way. And we think that because it's a different path, it's going to lead us to a different destination. And God forbid, like, we go to a different destination, different path, we have to do it our way. No, like, loosen up a little bit. It doesn't have to always be your way. It can, like, you can be experimental, be flexible, like, be okay letting go a little bit of that control. Not saying giving it up completely, but you don't have to do things in the way you thought it was going to happen. Like, sometimes the thing you want happens, but in a way that you never knew it would. Or the thing that you thought you wanted so much would have been so bad for you anyway that thank God you didn't get what you wanted. Thank God you didn't get that opportunity because something way better was in store for you. Or sometimes you didn't get the opportunity because you didn't believe in yourself, you didn't put in the work. It's like a life lesson to, like, if you want something next time, you know what to do differently now. So, like, everything that happens in life, doesn't necessarily have meaning, but we as humans like to extrapolate meaning from everything and always believe that something has a purpose. And I always do feel like there is a lesson to be learned in everything.
Right.
Even if the lesson is like, oh, this happened by chance, next time I need to know that there is going to be a slight percentage of chance that things aren't going to go my way and it's out of my control. Like, even if that's the lesson.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's just so many beautiful things about this show. I feel like it's so relevant. I'm so excited for episode 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, should we
should
we get into our special segment or anything else to talk about?
Well, we definitely wanted to talk about, and I do love the points that you had because it is true. And I think where God comes into play is where it's how you're saying, how do I explain it? You were kind of saying, just letting things flow. But because we're humans, sometimes our mind needs to anchor to like something so set in stone. Mm-hmm. So nothing is really set in stone. It allows for allowing. And I love that. I just have a small example of, I really wanted to go to New York and the plane ticket was going to be a little bit extra at the time. And I'm like, oh my God, there's these things, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you know what? I literally remember saying, I'm just not going to think about it. I want to go to New York. I'm going to make it happen. The next morning, I got like a flight voucher for something, blah, blah, blah. So I didn't even need the money. I was so like, I need this amount of money to get to New York at this time for this ticket. And I was like, you know what? Let me not put God in a box. That was like my little moment to stop stressing. Yeah. And then the next morning, literally at like 4:00 in the morning, I get this thing for a flight voucher for something that I did. And I got to go to New York. So that's
amazing.
It's just, kind of how it goes. But our last point we wanted to breeze by was how we were talking about when negative things happen and it separates people, either brings you closer to the God entity or it separates you. And here we saw 2 people who are definitely separated because of tragedy. Mm-hmm. And so I
get it. Like, trust me. Like, I'm up late at night thinking about like, how is our world like this? How is there so much instability in the Middle East? Why is it that we like wage wars for, financial interest and we don't have like the interest of human lives? And like, just when I think about the political climate right now, like I always think about like, I don't know. It's just
a hot mess.
It's like hard sometimes to think that God could exist, a higher power could exist when you see like all this senseless violence and horrible things happening. And even friends I've talked to where like they lose their dad or their mom or they lose a parent and like they're just so numb and they're like, I just don't believe in God anymore. Like, I don't see how God could exist if this were to happen. Right. And I'm like, honey, like, I understand. Like, I understand. Like, that's not for me to like convince you or for me not to convince you, because it's hard sometimes to believe in something existing when, like, I like to believe in a higher power because, like, basically I'm echoing Cara Bloom's words from the episode when she says, how sad is it to think that this life has no purpose and no meaning. Right. I think that's why so many of us want to believe in a higher power, want to believe in God. Because of all the senseless things that happen, we want to think that God will punish people for the horrible things they do because it gives us peace to know, like, you have to be a good person if you believe in an afterlife, But I, like, regardless of whether an afterlife exists, I still think you should be a good person. If this is the only life or if there's a life afterwards, I don't know, but I do get, like how your faith could be so intensely questioned when traumatic things happen. Just like what happened to Miles in the show.
Right. And what I love about that is I think that even with Miles and any traumatic thing, I don't want to, we've all gone through trauma, so I'm not going to downplay anybody's trauma like anything, but because I am a woman of faith and I choose that, it definitely gives me much more purpose to believe in God as a person, because being open to that idea always shows me of ways that I can be better. Okay, if such and such mother died of cancer at this time and it impacted me this way, 10 years later, can I bless someone with a testimony? Can I help them get through their mother who's going through cancer, blah, blah, blah. So there's this reciprocal and cyclical energy that happens because bad things are going to happen anyway, because people are people and God gave us free will. People are going to do what they're going to do. But how do we navigate that and make it purposeful?
You either become the Joker or you become Batman.
There you
based
go.
On like the traumas you've been through. Like, are you gonna save the people or are you gonna try to test the people in a way that's kind of demonic because of what happened to you as a kid? You know?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I really I love this show. I adore the way they put it together. I hope this gives people a really fun and exciting way to kind of relate to God without being like, oh, I got to go to church on Monday, Wednesday, Sunday, drink communion. It's less about the ritual and the rules and more about the love.
Yeah.
Let's do the love, people. So let's jump into our special segment, God Speaks.
Yes.
I want to hear from you, Miss Lady. Let's hear this quote so we can, I want to hear more about this.
Okay, so I'm definitely going to read the shortened version of this because this is a very long quote. It is one of my favorite quotes of all time. It's actually from the movie The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. I love that movie. And basically, the last part of the quote is, "But life being what it is, a series of intersecting lives and incidents out of anyone's control, that taxi did not go by, and that driver was momentarily distracted, and that taxi hit Daisy, and her leg was crushed." So the reason I love this quote so much is because in this show specifically, and in life in general, we realize, like, the concept of intersecting lives, the fact that, like, everything is interconnected in a way that is sometimes beyond our comprehension. Yeah. And you have an impact on people. Like, if something was just 1 minute earlier, 1 minute later, it could change everything. So, like, this concept of time and, like, how every second means something and how choice makes a difference and how, like, the outcome of everything could change based on the decision you make, and one thing that happens that goes wrong, one minor, like, setback could change everything. So I don't know, I just think it's like a concept that really resonates with me. Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. At the same time, it kind of makes me depressed sometimes to think that how would life be different if this one thing didn't happen? Mm-hmm. Like, if this one accident didn't happen, if this one death didn't happen, if this one, like, minor flaw or, like, little thing didn't happen, how could life be different? There have been times where I've almost gotten into an accident or something really tragic could have happened, where I'm like, wow, like, I've been saved. If that happened 1 second later, I could have been dead. You know? So, like, I think we all experience those moments where we think about what could have happened differently. Like, if we lived in an alternate universe where time was, like, a second off, it could change everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it just really does bring up the question of God speaking. How does he speak to us in every moment? Even that quote, you still found such divinity in that because it's very real. It's very spiritual. Mm-hmm. And I think with those things, these are like little ways that God or the Spirit, speaks to us to allow us a full and purposeful experience while we are here. I love think pieces. I love talking about stuff like this because we don't have all the answers, but we have ideas and vibes and inklings. And, even that moment when Kara sat on the bench, she was, her butt to that wood felt like a memory. And it was a vibe that created this whole thing that kept allowing the divine intervention and timing to continue to unfold. So
the fact that we even have a word, it's a French word, but the fact that we have the word deja vu, like that you have this eerie feeling because you've experienced this in a different place and time. Sometimes I wonder, is this like, did this already happen? Like, is this like God showing me something? Is this an out-of-body experience? Like, just that word alone, deja vu, like feeling like I've been here, I've had this conversation. Mm-hmm. This is creepily, like, it makes me think, like, what is real, what is not, like, what's happening?
Isn't it crazy?
And I don't like getting in that, like, pattern of thought where I'm, like, questioning everything and, like, wanting to know the meaning of my existence and the purpose of life. But sometimes it sounds like I'm stoned right now. I'm not. I don't do drugs. But, just getting into that, like, cyclical pattern of thought, like, why are we here? What is our purpose? That can either make you really depressed or really inspired. Yeah. It's whatever you make of it.
Yeah, I would totally have to agree. And the last cute part that I thought was amazing about this show is, if we're talking about how God speaks, like, can we hear it? Is he literally going to have to get on our phones? Because that's where we are these days. We're on Instagram, social media, Twitter. Everything is so, we've become so engulfed in our phones. And, I like to do a lot of little spiritual things. And I have a cute little card deck that kind of shares. Don't forget to be aware of the elements. So there's times I might be in prayer or I might think something and I'm just taking a walk and I'll get a gust of wind. Mm-hmm. And it's like, if I was so in my phone or writing an email, I don't know if I would have, this is just personal, but that confirmation of like, a gust of wind or a cloud going by and the sun shining or a butterfly in moments of certain thought.
Right.
For me, that's the way God speaks to me. So, like,
it's very symbolic.
It's very symbolic. It's very personal. I didn't read a book where somebody told me, when you see a butterfly, this me, it's not religious. It's just very much, like, it's a flow and it's a thing. So I love how this got to like speaking to us where we're at on social media. So let's give a little bit of light and love to Facebook and bring light, God, nature, Kara, Miles. And I don't know what's going to happen next time, but I bet it's going to be good. I don't know what to think about the second episode, but I'm excited to see how everything unfolds.
There's a new person he has to help.
There's a new person.
Yeah. I feel like this is going to be the format of every episode. God sends a person you should be friends with or look out for, and then that's the main focus of the next episode. And I think like once the entire series wraps, it's going to show how every single person that Brandon Michael Hall's character saves, or that any character saves, is interconnected in this like, what was that word again?
The grand design.
Grand design.
Yeah.
Is connected in this grand design that we can't fully fathom, but it is so beautiful and intricate. And I think that's how this season is going to end. Like, that's my prediction.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I can't wait. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. So please tune in next week. And we will be back here again talking season 2. And we can't wait to see you. Leave us comments. We're going to respond. We're going to answer. We're going to talk to you guys and get all that done. But thank you again for watching. I am Jamie Alexander, and you can follow me at Jamie Alexander on Instagram.
Hey everyone, my name is Mina Wahab. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, across social media at Mina Makes Magic. And don't forget to follow God on Twitter and Facebook. The account does exist. It's very snarky, very funny, a little different from the God that we experience in this show, but definitely check it out.
All right, guys, thank you so much, and see you next time.
See ya.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.